Voice sounds scratchy.
Mine?
Hey, welcome. Good evening. This is Bob Paste, and this is Daniel
No.
Watt. I'm always having trouble with her last name. I should get it now. Watt, and she's from Georgia, and I'm from California. We both have had different CPS cases, and we joined together to co-host this one called "Fight CPS Stop Taking Our Children." And this broadcast to you from Southern California on the Facebook. Found on Facebook, broadcast on YouTube, and the application you use is StreamYard. And so we have much as 9 people on at once if we wanted to. I'd like to go over the ground rules a little bit, Danielle, before we get started. Just some simple things. First, I'd like to thank Mr. Davis, who has produced this podcast with his law firm, Vincent W. Davis and Associates. And he says to call in at 888-888-6582 if you need to talk to him. Call in. That's what he told me to tell everybody every night. We will talk about Mr. Davis a little bit, about his use as my rule number 1. Now, I also want to thank Grace, who's the producer of the show, who helps correct me. And the other day, she said I had something on my chin. I got rid of it, and then so I'm glad that she's here. I'm glad she's here. I did go over my show this morning over by 10 minutes. I was all alone. I guess I got locked into doing a book called CPS for Dummies. I thought maybe I could write a book like that. Maybe that would be helpful to everybody. All they have to do is pay, $20 for this book by dummies, I guess. And if I got $1 for every book and I sell 1 million books, that's a lot of money. Yeah. Anyway, this particular podcast is live. You can interact with it. I think we have our first person already text in, Lori Hiller. Well, you were here last night. We couldn't figure out what place you were. It just says Lori Hiller, and then you say William Mullins. I don't know if that's your spouse or what, but if you're listening, you can put in your name and the place that your text from and a CPS question. What I do, I'm sorry.
Why is it just William Mullins? The name that she put on there. Why? Is everything?
Well, I don't know if she's texted in or what. It says Facebook, so maybe she came on. See, I have Juvenile Dependency Child Protection.
Oh, is it a comment?
Well, I thought it was. Then I have The Secret How to Fight CPS. That's Vincent. The reality series, the horror stories, that's on here. Those 3 come with me every time I'm on. But this Lori Hiller, I have no idea.
No, it could be where I've posted, because I'm involved in a lot of groups and stuff on Facebook, and a lot of involvement with anything to do with
maybe
CPS,
it could be someone that's just listening. Okay.
So it could be, because that's where Hannah last night, she got to see that, and I've been
we have somebody missing, too. We have Kay from Richmond, Kentucky. I haven't seen her for a couple of days, ever since she said she'd have an air conditioning put in. But I hope to hear from her soon. Anyway, I want you all to know that this is a live podcast, and it comes from you, Southern California. And even though Danielle is from Georgia, she's been added to the podcast. So we hopefully have some things that'll help you all out there. Hopefully there is some things. We've had some interesting case. I've had a social worker on here before from Maryland a couple of weeks ago. I've had an Armenian woman that was caught up in trafficking and had a very abusive relationship, which she got out of it, but he's Iraqi, and now they got a hold of their daughter, and it was a big, big mess. But hopefully she gets back to us, because I told her to go to Amnesty International and Safe Passage, and hopefully that will work out for her. So we do have unusual things. I had this morning a gentleman named Gil, and he's a nice guy. He's from Texas. And his problem is they weren't listening to him, and they had their mind made up. And, of course, he had a public defender that didn't work out. But I gave him some advice, and he was thrilled to death. And so hopefully I hear back from him. He's at the very beginning stage. And so hopefully he and his wife will get their child back together. And so
I've noticed that a lot with these cases, that do. It's like they already have a game plan before even giving the parties a chance, the families a chance to even redeem themselves if that's what's even need to be done. They already, I mean, because I can relate with that as well. They had their, I mean, and it's like when I come in the picture, it's like, whoa, it's like, well, you're not supposed to be here, and that's the way it feels. So I mean, I feel for a lot of these parents because that's the way. I mean, it's like they already have it set in stone, and that's why, like yesterday when we were talking, they should go in with an open mind and an open heart, because every case is different. Every case is not the same.
And the way I took Gil is that I didn't think he was guilty, because I said, first of all, you're calling in, opening up your heart, and you want your child back. That means you care. So I don't think you're a drug dealer. He was accused of being a drug dealer and all kinds of stuff that apparently wasn't true in his case. So he's going to try to get his child.
And hearsay.
He's going to get his child over to. Go ahead.
Oh, he is going to give it. They did take his child. They did end up taking. Is it by hearsay?
Well, like they did this. They got word. They had heard that he was supposedly a bad element, and so they went to another house, and his wife was with the child, and they took the child right from that house right away. I said that was wrong, because the wife is not bad. She could take care of the child.
And they didn't have no proof or nothing.
He can move out, and they didn't have any proof. It's all allegations,
but they didn't.
Yeah. So anyway,
I'm glad that Texas. I can say.
I said step one, when you have that first hearing, make sure that you stress upon that you want your wife, that you will move out. You have a game plan until you get yourself cleared, and then she can continue at the home and take care of the child. If that doesn't work, then give them to one of your family relatives, and it may be out of state. They can ship them out of state. They don't like doing that because it's expensive and stuff. They'll lose all their profit. But there's money to ship them to another state.
They want the money for themselves
through ICPC. Through ICPC. So they try to discourage you.
And
so the case,
and that's what they're doing in my case. Because I got an update with mine. My aunt called me today, and I've been trying to talk to my caseworker and everything. And my aunt called me today and said that they finally contacted her. Well, it's now May, and my son was supposed to be home after Easter. Well, it's now a month and a couple days later, and they're now still wanting to do a drug test and a fingerprint. No, I told her, I said,
no, you don't have to do a fingerprint stuff because the child's 18.
No.
You need to have
exactly.
The social services. Yeah, you need that part of the social services called adult care. You need to turn them off on that. You need to either speak to a supervisor or they have the wrong jurisdiction.
Right, and that's and like I told my aunt, and she's oblivious, she's new to all this, and she's like, well, I just don't feel that's right that they told me that everything's done, he's coming home, and then now I have to do more. I said, exactly. I said that, and I told her, I said,
well, you have to tell your aunt,
she's like, she feels like she's
son is my biological son. He's 18. And he needs to have special needs to take care of him. I'm doing that with my brother, and having one more will be fine. You just need to be assertive and be nice to the aunt.
Oh yeah, she's my aunt. Oh yeah, she's real nice, and then she's just upset, and she's upset, and I'm trying to tell her, I was like, don't let them get over on you. I said, because I'm still involved, and but they're trying to, but she's a big help, and she was the one that wasn't contacted, one of the ones. And I told him, I said, always remember, I said, it's even on a court order. I said that no relatives are willing and able when y'all were right there the whole time when he had family. And I said, always remember that and hold them accountable to that. I said, and that's what we're doing. And I told her, I said, do not, because at first they tried to get her to get coincide with her, on their side, and tried to get me out of the picture. And I'm like, Debbie, said, it's not that's not good.
Well, what she could tell the social workers, she could say, I'm sorry, but his biological mom is working through adult services and trying to get the child guardianship so that she can take care of his special needs. That's all she has to say.
Yep. And that's going to be me and her on that guardianship, the adult guardianship.
Good. Excellent. Excellent. I'm glad to hear about that. And
Yeah,
so
because
we need to get your
we have
son
to.
back to Georgia. We need to get him from there back to Georgia, and we need
Yes.
to have him back in your hands so you can start taking care of him. So those are good news.
Yeah,
It's slow.
Yep.
It does happen, but it's slow.
They're taking their time. They are wanting to try to just give us the runaround, and so I told him, I said, we're going to take matters in our own hands. We'll step up. Like, since he's an adult and he has his own rights, they're trying to make it look like as still like a minor case, like it's a minor, like doing things as if he was a minor, and that's not.
Well, they're wrong. He's out
case.
of jurisdiction. They don't have jurisdiction.
That's what I thought.
As soon as he turns 18 by law,
that's what
he is considered an adult, and he falls in that. You need to exercise that and get a hold of the adult social worker that handles with adults that need special taken care of,
Okay. Yeah, because that would be like the DBHDD that was trying to fight us for wanting guardianship of him. But
you just go to social service and say, I want to speak to the social worker that works with adults that need special care.
Yeah, so because that would be a good thing for me, my brother, and him, since I can't even get services for my brother because of him having an open Social Security claim. Like, it's still in the works of being approved.
Yeah,
and I even tried to get him insurance through the state. Yeah, and that's crazy because the state tells you when you have an open case with Social Security, they can't do nothing because and if there's if he didn't have an pending case with Social Security, they could help me. But with the open case, I'm like, I don't understand that. That's like backwards.
Well, like, I had a case
disabled man that's
where
37.
I had a criminal charge against me in criminal law, and they said that has to be handled first before we'll do the CPS matter. They're waiting for the outcome.
Really?
Yeah, they say that the criminal matter takes precedence over the CPS matter. And what was wrong is that I had the police detective does his story, and then the district attorney decided to file bogus charges, and they had me being hung for a year, and finally I was running out of money. I disagreed. I said, look, drop all these charges off my wife, drop all these extra charges off me and my wife, and I'll settle for neglect where a box was too high. That's what they wrote in my report. It's stupid. But before CPS would give my kids back. And so once I got the resolved, it still took me a couple of months to get my 2 boys back.
And it's the stuff they focus on. Like with my situation, like I'm on probation, and they said I had unresolved criminal issues. I said, it's not going to be resolved until I get off probation. I mean, then it'll be resolved, but I'm taking care of it. Like, I'm doing it and I'm in compliance. So that has nothing to do with y'all. I'm not being accused.
Oh, they try to come up with
they try to put that.
And all you have to do is you have to do is push the button and elevate it. Elevate it to speak to someone above them. You just have to get pushed and elevate, pushed and elevate.
Because there's a difference between criminal and civil courts. Like, it's 2 totally separate ball games, and that's what probation told them. Like, we're criminal.
Actually
that's civil.
3 differences. Let me tell you about the 3 differences. There's CPS, and there's civil, and there's criminal.
So, and CPS has, and that's the made up phony imaginary court that they just come up with all of a sudden.
CPS is the worst.
But it's crazy. And I was reading about, and I was watching on, like, learning some new stuff from some advocates out there, and like the biggest thing where they get a lot of their manipulation from is the paperwork, the wording, and how they do this, because it's not everybody's going to get their documents, like not every, and that's where they got the parents so overwhelmed that an average parent's not going to think about that. I mean, you want to keep a record and stuff, but watch what they say in these things, because yes, they can. I don't know why the attorney gets to go back and type up the final order and then it beats them. And that's not fair, because that's where, I mean, I've seen so much stuff snuck in, and that's where the nunc pro tunc comes in at. It's like, and when how are they able to backdate something? We leave the past in the past. Why bring it up? I mean, but if it happened now, how can you back? That's like Back to the Future. How can we? They got to go back and fix something in the movie. You know what I mean? Like it's crazy. Like it didn't happen then, and trust me, because if that was the case, I would love to go back in my past and change some things. You know, if I was allowed to do that, but I can't. Life happened, and we moved on. Well, how can they get? That's the way I take Nunc Pro Tunc. Right. I mean, that's probably the best way I can probably
let me go ahead, Danielle, and finish what I had started here. Was about how we interact with the podcast. Now, one way is text messages. We think that Lori just texts a message. We don't know if she's just a follower. She may be a follower. I don't know what her background is. But all you listeners out there, you can write a comment. All I ask is your name and the city and state or the country and city you're from. And why I say country is because I've had country people from Australia, Canada, United Kingdom, Ghana, Mexico, and Denmark. And these are countries that have similar problems that we're having here in the States. And they had a CPS question, and I answered it. And one of them actually called in, the guy from Mexico who's trying to get his $2 back from Missouri. So this comment part is nice because you can talk to, like, people will ask a question, and Danny and I will try to answer it. So, and you don't have to write a question to be on the show. I had some guy yesterday that was all over me yesterday because he thought he had to write a comment. No, I don't require, you don't have to do anything. You can listen. And
to say where he's from.
Yeah, he wouldn't tell me where he's from. And I said that, just listen, or you want to participate, but don't sit here and critique us that we're trying to do our job, and that that doesn't help. What we need is all of you listeners out there to come up with a question, whether it's about your case or a friend's case, or maybe you have a question about CPS in general. It's so important to do that. But anyway, that's the comment
We're here
part.
to help and show support.
Right. And then I love all your thumbs up and your thank you with the hearts and all that, all your emojis. I like them. That's nice of you. Thank you there that do that every time. And then the other thing is you can call in. And that's what Gil did this morning. He called in from Texas and he says, "This is so cool." He said, "You answered all my questions." He was on my phone for about 40 minutes. And he got me into talking his case and some ideas and so forth. And he said he'll call again. But he was really thankful, and he worked through the case. He was really at first lost because he had been delusional as a bad man. He's been told he's a bad man, and he said he wasn't.
And he probably has not ever been through nothing like that, and he probably was reaching out to find something for moral support or just something to make him feel better and not lose hope, because I've been there. Yes. Bless his heart.
Well, I said that, don't they still do sex education
Bob, you
in
were
high
there.
school? Yeah, they said you don't do sexual education in high school.
They
don't anymore, he said. I said, I'm surprised. I said, high school should be 4 things. First year in high school, you're a freshman, you're in 9th grade, you should learn about the facts of life. The second year, you should learn about living skills.
For the real world.
Yeah, living skills. How to have a baby or not have a baby, or about marriage, or how to cook, or how to care, or how
stuff
CPS
we did as
works.
minors. Yeah.
Someone should also know how CPS works, and who is CPS, and to do your taxes with the IRS and your checkbook. And then maybe your senior year, you could do all the fine tuning. So if you had 4 years of high school, because certain high schools are private and they have religion all 4 years. Why not
after that, you're going into the real world, really?
Why not have life skills all 4 years? And then when you graduate, you go on to college. And then maybe if you decide to get married, you take a marriage class. And a marriage class will tell you about CPS and how to live together and how to, work together as a team and how to work through arguments. I think it would really help a marriage besides a blood test. Yeah, besides a blood test, they should have a marriage class, some type of a general marriage class. And I don't know how many hours or how many classes, but it should be enough to prepare you for marriage, because so many people bounced into marriage. They said, "Oh my God, we have a kid. What do we do? Who is CPS? What is IRS?
Right.
What
And
is,
automatically.
oh my goodness, what is this? What are my civil rights? What's constitutional rights? They may have learned some of it from government, but, they need that in high school. And it's 4 years of living skills. That would help out so much. And when they go into college, they can take on their own social classes if they want to, maybe parenting classes. That's on their own. But if they decide to get married, they should take a marriage class, whether it's one or two, or I don't know that part. But those are things that would help.
Right.
But anyway, if you want to call in at 626-698-0990, we won't bite you, and you can talk about your case, and we'll try to help you work through it. That's what Gil did this morning. He called, he spent some time, and then he went away feeling happy. He was relieved. He came into the room all upset, all discouraged, thought he was a worthless person and everything. And he left the room with a smile on his face and something to do. He had a game plan. And all I did is I told him, well, read the welfare institution codes. And I told him what they were. And, and I said that look at the flow chart for your case, the timeline, how this is done, and then you'll better understand it. And then, of course, I talked about rules number 1, 2, and 3 too. So he had a full dose of that. He had a full dose of that. Yeah. So anyway, please call in. I'd love to have someone talk. That's nice, and that's great. Also, if you don't want to talk now and want to talk later, please email my producer, Grace. She's listening in, and all you have to do is type an email to her is grace@vincentwdavis.com. It's grace@vincentwdavis.com. And tell me you want to be on one of my 14 shows. I do shows 7 days a week, twice a day, once at 10 o'clock in the morning, Pacific Standard Time, once again at night at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And there's an exception to that. On Sunday, my show starts at 8 in the morning. And then there may be changes. This Saturday, I may be changing the time somewhat. I'm trying to work out the time there. But anyway, just pick a show. Just say, I want to be on Bob's morning show. I want to be on Bob and Danielle's evening show. And I want to be on Wednesday or Monday. You don't even have to give the date or anything. Just say what day of the week and whether AM or PM. And Grace will do the rest. She'll schedule. She'll show you the application, how they get on, and everything else. So, I thank you, Grace. You're really good, and I appreciate having you here in this room. I got to watch my time, though. I don't want to go over 10 minutes. I haven't done that. That was the first time I'd done that, but I felt so comfortable. I felt so excited talking about
with
the dummies book for dummies there. So anyway.
And you helped someone that really was lost because
Gil was really
kids are taken, they're empty. Yeah. I mean, you feel your heart just is gone. I mean, it's not gone, it's there, but you're just like shocked. You're in shock, and it's
so many of you are homeless. So many of you are low income.
Was he homeless?
And you don't have money, and you're stuck. Pardon?
Was he homeless?
No, he wasn't. But I said so many are homeless.
Okay.
I have one guy that called in. His wife recently died. He's trying to get his kids back. He's living in a tent in Alaska.
And like with my situation, my mother passes, and I haven't even got to grieve my mother passing. Like I will eventually. It's just right now my son and I, my mom's with me every day. I mean, she's not gonna sit here and let me fail. Not by no means. I mean, my mom was a strong woman when she was alive, and she's still a strong woman till this day. And she lives in me, and I am my mother all over again. Like everything about my mother, I am my mom. I mean, her obituary even said she was like the private investigator, the mom of the neighborhood, the person, if mom had a question, mom was looking into it, and mom would find out the answer, whether it be about her kids or someone. It didn't matter. My mother she was a computer guru, a tech guru, very smart. She was called the neighborhood mom, good Christian woman. And, I wouldn't ask for a better, I would never, I mean, you only have one mom in your lifetime anyways, but
Right.
you know, and I would never ask for a better woman than my mother. And like,
Right.
and her mom was my nanny. So those two people have influenced me a lot in my life. And then of course the aunt that is helping me now. That is a big
Well,
step. And
I
I
hope
do want
she
to say
is. Just keep your
that
guard
was
up.
her,
I hope she is.
yeah, her doing that, her and my uncle doing that it's really meant a lot. Cause I mean, that for me to like bring that up, and they were trying to do it right after my mom died. I mean, they were trying to find out everything, and that's how sheltered my son was kept from us. And we were trying to find him, and it was so they stepped up, and that means a lot, because they've known the whole story, like the whole time since my family's had my kids, you know. And if anything was to ever happen, like any relationship I would get in, if anything ever happens to my mom, I will be going for my son, you know. And we've always had that game plan, except for the ones that are against any family member against me, you know. But it really means a lot. You don't learn these things over the years, you know, until it happens. You wouldn't, and I would have never thought that they would do this, would help me out like this. That's awesome. So, but
okay,
yeah,
we
like,
have to end our show. We have to end our show at 8:00, so we can't run it go past 8. My producer just told me.
30 minutes. So it's only 8:00 over there. 8, or no, it's 7:00. 7:30.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Well, yeah, I just don't want to go over like I did this morning.
Yeah.
So
Oh yeah,
she's just telling me. She's just telling me. Please end it by 8 p.m. There's a show that time, so there's a show that's going to start right after me.
Okay.
So
I'm glad that the show goes in like on social media. Like when I shared it, like last night we had Hannah from Atlanta come in, and she said she's in, like, she messaged me names that she's been trying to contact me over the last couple of weeks, and I'm like, oh wow. And but that shows me that this goes out to a lot of people. Like a lot of people see it, and that's cool.
Shoot,
I've shared it, and
now England and Canada see it a lot. I mean, I've had several people from Canada and several from United Kingdom, and it's really, when I heard them talk about it's similar to their United Kingdom, I said, oh my goodness, I can't believe that the money thing is so corrupt.
United Kingdom, I've heard a lot of
but it was interesting. It was,
Sorry,
and then
y'all.
I love, if anybody's listening as a social worker, if you're listening, please call in. I'd love to have you be our guest on the show, and maybe you could shed the light on what you do differently. Because so far, after talking over 500 people in all the states, it seems that CPS is the same thing. It thinks that CPS
is. There is good social workers out there, and I'm sure there is. It's just the whole, since it's so worldwide, it's the name that, and because there is corrupt individuals within this, just like in the court system or wherever. But there are some good kind, and actually true to their passion for helping families. They actually, and I've met a couple of them. And that's like, my aunt was so surprised when she got involved with like me and my son. She's like, because she has had 2 kids before that were her nieces, and she had to happen to be at the house at the time that the incident happened, and they needed someone to take the kids, and she took them. And so she's dealt with this before, but she couldn't believe the big difference in that case compared to what I've gone through. And she's like, wow, I didn't know. Because she said, well, I had a sweet, she's calling me as a matter of fact right now. Her ears must be burning. No, no, you're good. She knows. Because she said she couldn't even, like, she couldn't believe because it wasn't like that with them. And I was just like, well, and she was in total shock. Like, I mean, it was just a shocker to her. I mean, just how different each thing was handled. And those kids were being taken because the mom was on drugs.
Well, let me get the rules out of the way, so
and then the mom ended up losing them. But a teacher did adopt them.
But if we have someone talking and I have to interrupt them talking, it's only because I have to answer the text comments that come in. So sometimes I have to acknowledge them. So if I'm not, blocking our guest if we have one that's talking, but I sometimes want to answer the comments that come in. But anyway, I mentioned 3 rules, and it's something that I come up with. It's things that I think are important enough in a CPS case. And my rule number 1 is you got to have a good attorney. Having a public defender is nice, but they're not going to fight for your case. And they only talk to you on the day of the hearing. They won't talk to you ahead of time. And if you want them to do a lot of things, they won't do a lot of things. If you want to put in things, they won't do it. They won't look for it. All they want to do is do a little bit of lawyering, as they might call it, and move on to the next case. They usually have a caseload of 20 to 30 people. And that's a lot of people to be talking to. And you don't remember one person to the next. But my rule number 1 is that you need to get an attorney. And I say CPS is like open heart surgery. If you need a valve in your heart or a stent or something wrong with your heart, you're not going to try to fix it yourself. You're not going to have your neighbor friend there open your heart up. You're not going to have a lay person. You're going to get yourself a professional doctor that's gone to school, medical school,
has learned for that.
And has learned a passion for it, and did an internship, got a license, and is mentoring somebody to be a good doctor, because doctors are not made overnight. And, open heart surgery is a pretty scary thing. And that's what CPS is. Now, again, I use the word CPS to mean Child Protection System. I know in California it's called the Child Protection Services, CPS. But when I say CPS, I mean it's the system of all the places everywhere. like in your case in Georgia it's called something else. Arizona's Department of
Children's Services.
Yeah, right. So a little bit different. So that's what I mean by CPS. But anyway, we're sitting here talking about the rationale why you want to get an attorney, a real attorney, because the public defenders, they're not family law attorneys. They're not well experienced, and they're just going to do whatever the social workers want them to do. And so in the courtroom, it's very corrupt. It's very sad. I have not yet met a good public defender.
Right.
Imagine there's ones out there, but I haven't met them yet.
No.
You want a real attorney. No. And we have one right now. Now I tell people,
talk good about the one I had, but
yeah, I've been modifying how to find attorney. That is a hard thing to do, and I realize that. Luckily, there's the internet, and you can search and just how you arrange your words. First of all, you want to start off with the word family law attorney. Okay, you want a family law attorney, and then you put the state that you're in, the city and the state. Now, the city is twofold. One is going to be the city you're actually in, and then the other one is the next biggest large city. So, in Danielle, in your case, your city is what was it again?
Ackworth, Georgia.
Yeah,
Ackworth, Georgia.
Yeah, Ackworth, Georgia. Yeah. But her close city may be
Atlanta would be
Atlanta, Georgia.
Yes.
So you put Ackworth and Atlanta together. That way you're going to get a list of a lot of hits. Maybe it's 10, 15, 20. Then what you got to do is you go through, you first pick 10 strongest ones. Then you call the 10. This is someone doing differently. The reason why we want to call the 10, you want to narrow it down to 5. And you don't ask them too many questions at first. You just narrow it down, because then you're going to have a consultation with 5. And so after you have talked to 10 attorneys, you now have selected 5. Then you're going to have a consultation. You're going to call them again. But then that's where you're going to talk about your case and see if how much the retainer is. If you're talking to an attorney and right away they're saying, oh, it's going to be $100,000, then you're wasting your time. They're talking about money. You need to be able to talk to an attorney without money coming up. Then you can ask them, how much is your retainer? But if they all talk about money, you wasting your time with them. So anyway, you talk to this list of 10, and then narrow down to 5, and you're talking to. Now, the guy I want you to put on your list of 5 is Vincent W. Davis. He should be on your list of 5 because he can help you out. He works in Southern California, but he'll work in Northern California. He'll work all over the states. He's not afraid to fight CPS. He has fought CPS. He's done lawsuits against CPS, and he is an excellent family lawyer, excellent family attorney, and he knows he's a fighter. He knows how to do it. So what I strongly suggest is you call him. He has a consultation fee for 30 minutes of $60. I know that sounds like a lot of money, but for $60 worth of knowledge, to me that is good, because a book is $20 or $30. So 60 is a good number. It's $2 a minute, what it works out to be. But he can tell you how to fight your case. He can assist you. He can talk about strategies. He also, if the chemistry is good, you can ask him, how about if I want to retain you as my attorney? Then he'll discuss his retainer. His retainer is based on the complexity of the case, how long the case has been going on, whether the case is local, Northern California, one of the states. He charges for accommodations and transportation, but the other fees is what he calls there. Also, depending on how old the case is, how new it is, and how complex it is. So those are all the factors he considers. So I'm telling you that he be well worth it. And I say $6 is a lot of money, but well worth you spending it, because he'll give you some strategies, and you could get your kids back. You could get your kids back. So that's my new rule number one. That's my rule number one, because you're going to get it narrowed down. You will get an attorney. Now, rule number 2 is bookkeeping. That's where you get that notebook. And now I've added tabs to it. You should have at least 5 tabs in the notebook. And your first tab will be the incidents. The second tab may be the classes you're taking, the parenting classes, the programs, all the drug tests you're taking, anything like that. That's the second tab. The third tab could be connections that you found, like websites and all the things about your case there. It could be also your questions regarding to ask about things. Then your last tab can be websites. You can put them there. But make it work for you. Don't listen to me. Make it work for you. But because I didn't have one, I wish I did, because when I fought my case for a year and a half, then get an attorney, I had to spend a lot of my money explaining to the attorney where he could have read the book and got through it quicker. So I'm telling you that. And on that first tab, the incidents, just put in the name, put in the date and time of the incident, then put in the names, whether it involved police or children or parents,
other person, parties involved,
whatever it does, put the names, and then skip the line and put down the next thing is called the incident. What was the incident called? Was it they came to your home, you went to their office, they took your child, you tested positive on the drug test, whatever the incident was, you put the date and time, and then you put the people involved. Was it the parents, the children, the social workers, who was involved? And then after that, then you put the description of the incident. You describe what it was. That may take 1 or 2 or 3 lines. Then you want to put the outcome. How did the incident end? Was it fully satisfied, or did it end wrongly? Do you have to come back at it? Or you may take some time to do the incident. So then that's what you do there. And you follow that up. Then leave spaces and do your next incident, spaces, incident. And again, that be something that you create yourself that is conducive where you can find things. It's organizing your thoughts. You have so much going on. You need to put the information down somewhere. It's got to be readily available. And it should be the one that you keep in a diary about what CPS is doing bad, what they're doing wrong. The incidents themselves will help you out because you date and time them, and they're listed in chronicle order. And then you can come back later and highlight them and say which ones you need to resolve or whatever. But that's your notebook. And now the last rule that I have is you say no. You say no. You do not, talk too much.
Everything with CPS is voluntary.
Yes, because the more you tell them, the more they're going to use against you. All you have to do is simple answers. Yes, no. Yes, no. Is your name such and such? Yes. You don't have to say there. And by the way, I was born in Timbuktu, and I was born in 1952, and I had a large family. They're going to use that against you. You don't want to give them any more ammunition than they have. So the less you say, the better off you are. And that goes for policemen. You don't have to tell them either. You see, there's a thing called a warrant.
You have rights.
I'll talk about that in a few minutes, because I also want to mention, don't let them in your home. Do not let them in your home.
Anything wrong with your home,
don't let them take your child. Don't open the door to them. And, it's your castle. It's your civil rights to defend your home. And they have to have either a crime in progress to enter your home. And a crime in progress is like a shooting or a knifing or a child's head being smashed against the wall. They're going to enter it. Now, if not a crime in process, they need your permission or a court warrant. Now, your permission is most time, and I did too, allow them in because you think it's the right thing to do.
Right. And also, if they bring the police with them, that still does not mean they have a right. Even if they bring the cops, they use that as, I guess, for them. But no, if they don't have a warrant or anything,
that's called intimidation. CPS want to intimidate you. They're going to bring a cop because a cop will have his bulletproof vest on. He'll have his combat fatigues now and his combat boots. And he'll look very intimidating, very mean looking. And he doesn't know what he's doing, to be honest with you. So if that happens and you're inside the house, don't open the door. If they knock on the house and they say, we got a warrant, then you can look at the window and have them hold the warrant up so you read it through the window. Now, a warrant will get them in the house, but a warrant's really tricky. You need to have a judge.
But what if they just hold up a piece of paper
before the court, and they got to list the name of who they're going to see, the allegations, what they want to do. They want to take the child, or they want to enter your home. Because when they enter your home, they're going to go through your underwear drawer. Why they do that, I don't know. I think somehow male cops get a big kick out of it. I don't know.
And that's so true, Bob. That is so true that you said that. I've heard of that a lot.
They explore to go through the home and again things you shouldn't get into. It's your castle. You need to make it CPS proof, and you need to talk to your attorney.
Protect your castle.
Don't forget that you can ask to speak to your attorney before you say anything more. If they're pressuring you and you feel anytime uncomfortable, say, thank you very much. Do you have a business card? I want to see my attorney first.
Right.
It's your prerogative. You can shut them and tell them to leave. And if they have a warrant, make sure you look at it. Make sure it's readable. Make sure it's legit. It's signed by a judge. It's a wet signature. And it is a copy, a Xerox copy. And the warrant is very explicit. Only do what's called out in the warrant. If it says no child removal, don't give them your child.
Right.
And lastly, there's a thing called medical trafficking. And that's part of rule number 3. If you have to go to the hospital, heaven forbid, and your child's sick, be very careful while you're there. Because there's case workers now that work in the hospital. And they can't take your child away, especially, let's say the doctor says, this is what I think's wrong with your child, you need to do this. And you say, wait a minute, I want to get a second opinion. You can do that.
Right.
Your medical rights are your children's rights are your medical rights.
You still have right. Yeah.
And so you can do that. Don't let them take the child, because what sometimes is happening now is that they'll say, oh, you're not taking care of your child, we're going to take them from you. No, they gotta have a real good reason to take your child. So that's my number 3 rule. I've just gone through them 1, 2, and 3. You like to add anything more?
When they do come out to your house, if they say they have a warrant and you have not opened your door and they all they show you is a piece of paper, no, get them to push it up to the window. You want to see it close up because they can just have a stack of papers in their hand and say, well, here it is, and I've learned people run it, and no, you want to actually read what it says on there. You want to see it because they could, a lot of times they don't have a warrant and they could have their clipboard or and the cops just actually, they told the cop that they're for their protection. Like, so always, and then keep information, like detail, text messages, emails. If you have to talk to them on the phone, follow up with an email. So you have your proof. Because paper trail is always everything, because they will try to manipulate you into being like be the worst monster ever, and you're not. You're that child's parent, and just because somebody's had a bad day and wants to get back at you for something that you had, no child, no. That's
they really know what a social worker is. I tell people, put in your head a social worker wearing a pink shirt, 8 of them, and on the front of the shirt they say they're professional kidnappers, and on the back it says, "Where are your kids?" Those 8 social workers were fired, but I'm telling you right now, that's what social workers are thinking. That's what social workers are thinking.
And tell them that that's actually true, that did happen. Like that did.
Oh, I am. It is happening. I'm just saying that I found out a couple of days. It happened a couple of years ago in Arizona, wow. And they were fired. But what I don't, I have really a hard time believing CPS, because it's hard to believe that 8 workers are that sick enough to flaunt that. They said they wore it for the office staff. It was an in-house thing. But I can guarantee if they did that on the outside, but I don't care what they did, it's what they think. That's what's in the mind of the social workers. They think they're professional kidnappers. They're not professional kidnappers. They're traffickers. They are trafficking your children into foster care. And they do it right in front of us. They do it legal, and it's illegal any other. If I was going to traffic a bunch of girls somewhere, I'd be arrested for trafficking illegal. But is CPS ever arrested? No. They're trafficking your children. They're trafficking your children. And they do everything they can to delay it, to take forever to do it so that you go away or be quiet. Where it is, and it's all the purpose
in my case, they send if I was supposed to be keeping the bond with my son and doing services and a home, what is it, like the psychological stuff with him and being involved in his mental health needs and his autism needs, how is that going to be possible when it's 4 states away? And like I told them on the news, it's not like I can walk out my back door and go 2 blocks and see my son on a daily basis or even on a weekly basis. No, I have to do it by a phone. And I'm telling you, the bond, I said, the bond's there. My son, he knows who I am, and me and him are like 2 peas in a pod. That's my best friend. But to send him 4 states away, how am I supposed to, how is he supposed to, oh, there we go. Hello.
Okay, we got a caller. Hello, good evening. And who am I talking to?
My name is Michelle.
Hi, Michelle. Welcome to our podcast. What city and state are you calling from?
Taylor, Grafton, West Virginia.
Okay, this is probably the 8th person from West Virginia that I've talked to. I remember that there. What can I do for you? What is your question?
My children were just removed on some really outrageous crap. And, they have really done some messed up stuff to me, and I can't even get my court-appointed lawyer to answer me.
Well,
and I'm at a loss. I don't even know what to do.
Well, you come to the right place. We're going to try to help you here. We may have to continue this another day, because I'm about 7 minutes out of time here, because at 8 o'clock I have another show coming on, so I have to curtail. But that doesn't mean we can't talk again tomorrow morning or tomorrow morning. I'm on 14 times, 7 days a week, twice a day.
I watch you all the time. I've been trying to catch you live.
Good. Well, thank you very, very much, and thank you for listening. And we'll try to help you. Your first step is I guess, can you identify how it happened, the allegations?
I domestic with my husband, not a physical one. But in the process of the cops coming, they told me that they found drugs in his truck, which was not true, but I did not find this out until weeks later.
True.
They lied to me and told me I had to go down and file a domestic or a protective order against him.
Right.
If I didn't do it, CPS would come in and take my children.
Okay.
2 weeks later, I found out that what the police officers had told me that night was all a lie, and that I had also talked with DHHR, and they told me that I did not need the protective order, so I requested it to be dropped. They have now since took my children due to it being dropped.
Wow.
And this was back in February that the incident took place.
Now, in February, what did they do? Did they come to your house to take how did the child get taken?
I'm sorry, say that again.
How did the child get taken from you?
When she dropped the
They did a
TPO.
They did an order ratifying custody.
Was that a warrant?
No. 43-4-303.
Okay. And that was an order that said
West
what?
Virginia?
Yes, it's West Virginia. And what did the order say?
I'm gonna
What was
go.
the term it said?
Hold on.
It said that they were removing the children. Hold on, I'm trying to pull up the thing. It said that the caseworker was pulling the children. I'm going through all my papers right now. I'm so sorry. It was an order ratifying emergency custody.
Okay, but that's not a warrant. That's not a warrant.
Is it signed off by a judge or anything?
It's signed by a judge, though.
Okay, it's signed by a judge, but did it say there an order to show cause, or what did the order? What was the terminology?
This is the cause. The mother requested that the domestic violence be dismissed, saying she lied about the incident, and also had the children lie about it.
Now, how did they determine you lied? How did they determine you lied?
That's magistrate.
I told them that I did.
Oh, okay. See, that's why
say the numbers
rule
off
number
again?
3, I don't know if you heard me talk about my rules, but you never talk to social workers. It's yes, no answer. The more you tell them, the more. I mean, what I would have done
I never told this to the I never told that to the CPS worker. I talked to the magistrate of the actual case.
Okay.
Yeah, so it is in but that is magistrate, because when I looked up that code, it is magistrate, and it's 43-3-03, right?
They removed the children 2 days prior, told me, okay, well, wait, we ain't got the order. You can come and brought them back, and then removed them again 2 days later.
Did they talk about a safety plan?
No.
Did they offer you a chance to meet with the social worker to determine where the kids will be stayed till they get your case resolved?
They are with my mother-in-law, but they never discussed anything with
Well,
me.
that's sort of like with the safety plan. What I mean by the safety plan for all those listeners is that you make a list of family members they can stay with. They don't have to be in state. They can be out of state. But you make a list.
Do you get along with your mom?
They're supposed to meet with you.
And
they do it within the first
is
week.
Is she on good terms with her mother?
They're with her mother, she said. So that is like a family member.
Is she on good terms? Like
7 days they beat me when this first started.
Say that again?
They need my mother-in-law to come down every day for 7 days to check on me and the children.
So they weren't in her custody. They weren't in her custody. The children are still with you.
They are.
They were supposed to be, but when I left the court hearing, the judge ordered that they were to remain with me. It wasn't until later that evening when I got home, I got a call saying they changed their mind and they decided to pull the kid.
Oh God. I love it.
And the mother-in-law is right.
I don't understand. How can you do this? How can you do this?
Well, that's because you don't have an attorney, number one. They're taking advantage of you because you asked for a public defender. If you had hired an attorney.
They just gave me one.
You didn't ask for it?
No, that's the way they did me. They
I got a paper stating who my lawyer was, who my husband's lawyer was, and who my kids'
and
guardian was.
that's the way they did me. I didn't even ask for one, and next thing I know, I had an appointment. I'm like, "Who are you?" And that's
they're not supposed to. They can give you a lawyer, but you got to ask for it. This is they're just trying
with her.
They're trying to make it so that you can't. They can give you a public defender that knows nothing, and that public defender will have a caseload.
Ask her if she wants to be, since it's the time. Ask her if she wants to be a guest on the show, because I'd like to hear more about this.
Yeah, we got about 1 minute. We gotta wrap up the show here. I tell you what, can you call back tomorrow morning or tomorrow night?
Yes, I can. I will for sure call
Definitely.
That's right. Either tomorrow night at 7 or tomorrow morning at 10, and that's Pacific Standard Time. I want to thank all my listeners. Can you get that
number from her again?
What number?
44 dash the 44 dash 3 dash whatever the one she said. I want to make sure I have the right one.
303.
49.
Okay, thank you.
You got it? Okay. Please go look on it and get back to you tomorrow. So that sounds really good. But I want to thank.
It says at the top of this, after 2 additional days, they are to return the children back to the respondent unless the DHR files a petition and continues custody.
Right.
And that's what I've just seen that, and that's why I'm gonna look it up tonight.
Well, we got to cut the show because another show is starting right now. So I want to thank you very, very much, and and I want to thank everybody, Danielle, and God bless you all. And this is Bob and Danielle signing off. Good night.